All right, gang, Coach Chris here and
Coach Joy.
We're here for T2 TV. Want to give you guys some tips on peaking your training. So as you get to your peak weeks, your peak training block, there's a couple major things you want to focus on to really get the best out of that final big block of training before you taper back down. And peaking is ideally where you're hitting your key fitness goals, but you might not be performing quite at your best yet. You'll perform better after the peak once you begin to taper. But during the peak, there's a couple things you want to do. If you look at your training plans, generally speaking, especially from a running volume perspective, you want to make sure that you're getting that goal peak training volume in. And that is actually more important than just the long runs. A lot of people like marathon training focus on doing the 20 miler. But if you do a 20 miler on the weekend and you do no running during the week, that's going to be a big shock to your body. It is better to just get the total volume goal in during the week, spread out in little runs. And usually the ratio that you want to have is at least a 1-to-1 ratio of the volume you're doing on the weekend to the volume you're doing during the week. So if you're doing a 10-mile run on the weekend, you need to get 10 miles in during the week. If you're getting 20 miles in on the weekend, that means your weekday volume
should
actually build up to about 20 miles. That's a lot, but that's maybe 5 miles, 4 days a week,
Yep.
Right? You can do that in a very achievable way in just 3 to 4 runs. But the key is getting your body just used to being on your feet and building up to that peak very gradually over the course of training. So don't jump up your volume. It should only be going up about 10% from the prior week. And that's where you're getting to your peak. So don't overreach, just build gradually and get that volume goal in. And as you're doing that, if that volume is high, guess what? You need to fuel and hydrate a lot more too.
So your fueling is going to be much more. We're talking about getting your carbs in. You're going to actually be increasing your carb volume. So originally, like slowly building up from maybe 30 grams of carbs per hour to 60 up to 90, but you also have to think about your fuel and your hydration intake as well. That is going to be very important, especially when we're going into the longer mileage during peak. That's going to be your biggest mileage volume that you're going to be doing. So think about it this way. You do not drive your car on empty. So you should not be running on empty. You should not be depleted before you even start your long run.
Yep.
So really prioritize trying to get that in. But also another thing to prioritize is sleep. Sleep is going to be very important right now. You're going to be feeling tired. Please get that sleep in. If you have to get a nap in, get a nap in.
And one way to actually get that better quality sleep in is by hydrating and fueling more. And while we think, for runners especially, you go out and you run for an hour, you don't need to take anything with you.
Yes, you do.
You can survive that, yes. But then the next day and after the workout, you're going to be dehydrated, you're going to be depleted. And if you have a lot of volume in the following days, we need to have the same habits of fueling at higher rates, even in those shorter runs. So taking a gel in before a run, having some carbs in during the run, getting some carbs in after the run. And that might mean if you're doing a gel, like a gel before, a gel during
a gel
and
after.
A gel after, right? Or a protein bar after. It doesn't have to be gel. Get normal food too. But always think about that. The best time to carbo-load is actually the 30 minutes after every workout. So rehydrate and get the carbs in immediately after every workout during the peak. And like Joy was saying on the fueling side, especially on the long runs, through training, you should be building up to trying to get your gut used to and the habit just of hydrating and fueling more to your peak. And these days, at least for marathon runners, we generally want to be peaking with our long runs being fueled by about 90 grams of carbs an hour. You might go more. At the elite level, faster runners, you're burning more, might go up to 120 grams of carbs an hour. That's a lot. That's 480 calories an hour. That's 4 to 5 gels an hour. That is a lot. But the minimum I usually recommend at this point is 1 gel for every 5K.
Yep.
That habit is a really good ratio regardless of your pace. If you're front of the pack, back of the pack, doesn't matter. Fuel more during the peak.
Fuel more and fuel often.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Yep.
And if you have a problem with fueling, you can actually program, if you have a smartwatch, a Garmin, a Chorus, a Polar, or your phone, you can set a little alarm. So that alarm will go off, hey, it's time for you to get some fuel in.
Yep. So sleep more, eat more, drink more, and get the volume
and train
in.
more.
Yep. So good luck. I know it's a tough week to get through, but once you get through peak week, guess what? It's taper
clear
time.
Sailing.
Yep. One-way ticket to Taper Town. All right. Thanks,
Thank
Joy.
you.
Yep.